If you're going to bust up the traditional family, that's one of the things you can do is turn the normal, natural power relationship upside down, and to complicate it with confusion and ridiculousness and contradiction. For example, the idea that diversity is actually conformity. Now, they know how absurd that is, that diversity is actually conformity. How absurd that is. It's not diversity that they want at all. They want compliance. They want you to knuckle under to coercion and to be used to being a slave, a socialist slave that does what he's told. A socialist slave does what he's told. It's a control mechanism. It's never about what it's about. It's a system of control. And, of course, that's obvious. And so in order to stop the obvious from being exposed, because their propaganda doesn't work when you've got free speakers, they have to shut down the observations. They have to shut down the mentioning of the obvious, and to have the ridiculous exposed, the contradiction exposed. But it's never about what it's about. They don't really care about the gender stuff, but it's a wonderful way to sow destruction and confusion, which of course is the point of the exercise in N5LAX. Obvious? I mean, all you got to do is, as I said, all you can do is to learn about these creatures is to observe them. You can get so tangled up in what they're doing that you miss the motive, you miss the action. You listen to the words and you miss the action. It's kind of like the behavior of these squirrels. I keep mentioning the behavior. Don't be distracted by the nonsense that comes out of their mouth. It's not what they're saying that they're about. What they're saying, the words are disposable. They're tools and implements of a temporary interest and only for a trial balloon to see if they have any effect. They're tools and vehicles, instruments, and their devices. They crafted for the effect, the content of which they have no investment in whatsoever, beyond their perceived potential effectiveness. It's the action. That's the thing. It's the action. What are they doing? Not what they're saying. To listen to what they're saying is to be distracted and to miss the point. It's what they're doing. That's where it's at. They're performing an action. They're not communicating. They're doing. It's a thing they're doing. It's an agenda. The words are irrelevant, and they shouldn't be listened to. I've said that 1,000 times, and people don't seem to get it. N5LAX.
So I won't share all of it, but I will say that some of what these people who you refer to as squirrels and mud ducks, they seem to want to attack you as though you've done something wrong. Now that I don't understand. Now, of course, they take issue with you being on the radio a lot. That I still don't really get because, as long as you're not taking up their time or interfering with them, then that should not be an issue. And anyone who would use 7200 as an example and you coming down to 7200 as being a problem, I would have to say, have you listened to 7200 when Raymond's not around? It's all but the same. I mean, there's not much else except for that Raymond adds his voice and his carrier to it, and then that brings on a whole other issue, that noisy fan of yours. And so it's just giving them something else to hate you. So the whole thing, from my standpoint, or my point of view rather, is that they just hate you, Raymond. They don't like you. They don't care for you. And from my intellectual psyche, I don't understand why they would waste their breath on you. In other words, everybody has their own life to live. Now, I didn't mean to demean you in that statement, but what I'm saying is, why don't they If they don't like you, why don't they go and do something different or move somewhere else? Or why are they wasting their time on you? To me, it's a big waste of time. You're not going to change. You are who you are, and all their crap is just feeding into it. But now, if you're enjoying all their crap, then it becomes this big, huge, thick game of let's just all, I'll talk about the squirrels and I'll try to swamp them with my fan while the squirrels are out there getting all worked up and chattering and going nuts, which is what it sounds like to me. That's the reason why I walk away. After a while, it's not even worth it. It doesn't sound like anything. It's just a bunch of noise, and I would rather put on a concert up here on this 42-inch TV and pump it out my 1,200-watt EV speakers and jam and work it over at the workbench. But, if I can sit down here and have a decent conversation with somebody, then I'm all in. Other than that, the rest of it's just a bunch of noise. This is N5LAX.
So I got quite a music collection myself, and I love sci-fi. That's my thing. So I love sci-fi. Oh yeah, well, their psychology is transparent to me. I do understand. Now it's abnormal. It's quite abnormal. You really can't relate to it, but that's how I learned how these mechanisms work, is by studying them. You learn by creatures by observing them. There's self-esteem problems involved. I'll put it that way. For some of them, it's like I've stolen their mojo. I don't know. It bothers them for some reason that there's status and character and class, of which they have none of those things. And so they tend to go after somebody that has status, character, or class, on display and advertise the fact that they have none of those things. Which, of course, brings you right back around to that lack of self-awareness that I like to point out so often. I'll never get tired of pointing that out. The heat lamp is always on the behavior. That's where they're exposed, so that's where my focus remains. But, I think they're kind of obvious and transparent, actually. That's one of the most glaring things about them, is that they are so obvious and transparent, and being so obvious and transparent, but seemingly without any awareness of their own transparency, which brings us about to that general lack of self-awareness that I like so much to point out. N5LAX.